Hi everyone, I'm Maruša and I'm really excited to tell you more about this research project that we did with the Green Planet Augmented Reality Experience in collaboration with some experts in conservation from the Royal Hull University as well. So it's a really beautiful R&D kind of research project. Clickers here. So for those who didn't see the Augmented Reality Green Planet Experience, it was showcased in Regent Street in London in February and March, and it involved a virtual Sir David Attenborough taking you through 6 beautiful biomes that you could see through a phone, and all of these biomes were focused around different plants, and throughout the experience he was kind of encouraging you to participate with these different biomes. There was this one part when you were underwater and there was this seagrass and you were kind of like collecting the seagrass, and then the seagrass would like capture some plastic in the ocean. So there were kind of some sweet messaging about sustainability throughout the experience, and we were brought on to this project to research how these kind of messages and these kind of experiences can promote greater awareness of sustainability-related issues, and how that can kind of promote attitudes towards sustainability as a societal topic and issue that people consider. So in order to do that, we had an exit survey, as we usually do in the research that we do at StoryFutures. So people would kind of come out on the other end of the experience and they'd be asked to do a not-so-short survey. And we actually did manage to get 2,222 people to complete the survey. And then they were asked if they would like to complete the survey a month later as well. So we got 133 people complete that. We also randomly selected 20 people for an hour-long interview to kind of dive into these potential changes more in depth. So we measured attitudes towards sustainability based on a previously established, validated scale that is based on UNESCO's framework for sustainable development. And we asked people kind of how true these statements were for them before attending the Green Planet experience, and how true they were right now after attending. And then a month later, we also asked them to answer these questions again to see how true these statements were for them afterwards as well. And we can see that there was a positive, significant increase in attitudes towards sustainability, suggesting that these kinds of experiences and these kinds of messages do come through to people. And not only that, this change also persisted a month later, which is really impressive. It's just quite a long period of time. So we can really see that these kinds of messages and changes do promote kind of attitudes and awareness of sustainability. And that is kind of reflected in the quote from an interview as well that says, that the content did help in that sort of explanation of the complexity of ecosystems, and therefore how easy it is for the humanity to tip over and impact them. And this person said that this did come through in the experience quite strongly, which is suggesting that there is some power to these XR experiences in changing people's minds. But does it change people's behaviors as well? Is another question that we asked. And in order to measure that, we had a list of so-called sustainable behaviors that also came from an already validated scale. And we asked people how often they performed these behaviors before coming to the experience, and then how often they wanted to in the future going forward. So what were their intentions? And then a month later, again, we asked how often they performed these behaviors in the past. And we can see that there is quite a strong positive change in people's intentions. So you can see that people really do want to change their behaviors. But actually, a month later, this change didn't quite so persist. But we'll look at more specific behaviors to see why that might be the case. And just to kind of bring your attention to this quote as well, this person kind of mentioning that, again, they were the elements of the experience that did promote this positive change and this inspiration and intention to change their behaviors. As this person said, this example that I gave you earlier of kind of wading through seaweed and capturing some plastic. So it was this interactive element in the AR that promoted that. And this person saying, it did remind them of kind of that interrelation and possibly affected their behavior a little bit. And when we actually look at specific behaviors that we were looking into, we can see that there are some, so just to tell you what this graph is about, so in green we can see that the percentages of people that either did or didn't do. So we can see this is not looking at frequency anymore, but just percentages of people that did this behavior. And we can see in blue is percentages of people that did these behaviors in the last 30 days before coming to the experience. And in green, we can see percentages of people that performed these behaviors in the 30 days since coming to the Green Planet augmented reality experience. And we can see that there are some behaviors that kind of drastically increased, such as on top we have donating money for environmental campaigns, that increased a lot. Also using energy efficient systems increased a lot, and buying environmentally friendly products. So we can see quite a big increase. We can see kind of at the bottom of the graph that there were some behaviors that were already quite high, so there wasn't that much room for increase either, and these are kind of very day-to-day kind of recycling correctly or walking instead of driving. But there are also some behaviors that didn't quite increase. And if we look closely, these are kind of behaviors like volunteering in environmental conservation, or another one that didn't really see much change is participating in activities promoting pro-ecological values. And these are kind of behaviors that maybe they're quite big behaviors to change. They're quite big actions to take. They're not day-to-day kind of, oh, I'm just going to donate, or I'm just going to buy this this product that's environmentally friendly. So maybe there needs to be a more shocking message to promote this change, or there needs to be more time for us to measure this change. But we don't know that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, all of these, we worked with conservation specialists at the university, and what they were particularly interested in is kind of the differences between people's preference for species conservation between animals and plants, because they say that there is a really strong preference for animals. But this particular experience was really focused around plants. So what we did is we asked people to imagine that they can fictionally donate money towards conservation of 3 species, and we had a list of 12. And 6 of those were featured in the experience, which are noted in the graph with the asterisks, and 6 of those weren't featured in the experience. And 3 were plants and 3 were animals. And we can see that, the most popular species that people picked were indeed the plants that were featured in the experience, such as the balsam tree, the giant water lily, and the African baobab. But apparently nothing can beat the African savanna elephant, because that is by far the most, the most popular species that people selected to preserve. And again, a quote demonstrating that, it was elements of the experience that encourage people to think about plants differently and think of them as worthy of conservation because of their role in our ecosystem. So we're currently running a control study as well to see whether it's to compare this AR experience to people just watching a video, to see whether it's the AR and the interactive that promotes these changes. But that's something for next time. So if you want to keep in touch and maybe hear about it later as well. Thank you.